Good morning, class. Welcome to Homeroom with Unc and Market Monk. Morning, P. How's your week?
It was solid. I had kind of a busy week in the day job, so I didn't day trade as much, but scalp looks and just had some longer term holds, figuring out what to do with them. Healthcare went off pretty nicely. That was a pretty good one for me, and metals continued most of the week.
Yeah, the new angle of the medical thing I liked. I kind of got one of every three trades out of that one. Um, but overall, and what I mean by that is the short term, the swing, and the long term look.
Yeah,
mRNA obviously being that long term look last week. Clove on the shorter end. Good rinse and repeat level. But in general, another week for me, P, where the free share account or the main account is just kind of moving too good. Um,
yeah,
you get up, just throw some random numbers out there. Let's say you had a $10,000 account and you're up 30%. Well, then you get 10% on that a day off a move, and it's basically taking care of business for you. I do want to mention the $100 stocks. Dollar Tree, Dollar General, they're closer to $150 stocks. Um,
yeah, yeah.
TGT 111. That thing ain't budging. Just trucking along. We got a killer entry on that one. Something we did a little bit more last year, excuse me, than we have in the past is we're establishing. If you want to own this, own it now. And track record so far, so good on that. CELH I can put in there too, even though that's a kind of a shitty stock. And
Yeah.
then some of our poopy sector looks. Some clean energy, some of the old miners that we were in. Just pretty strong week. Shift the topic a little bit from my stuff to just in general. Um, Pac kind of touched on it a little bit. We are consolidating. Money's looking for a place to go right now. Um, it's getting tight. I agree with that 100%, and I do also agree we're gonna have to make a decision here in the short term time, and what I mean by that is probably that 4 to 6 week mark. Um, Market has a lot to digest, in my opinion. Rate cuts, no rate cuts, fire this guy, war here, tariffs there. We got a lot moving, um,
Yeah.
but we've learned to look past stuff and be optimistic. Um, so yeah, I'm liking where we're at. Maybe a little harder on the entry, but if if you got anything last quarter, you're doing fine.
Yeah, even something like I love the entry on play,
Yeah,
just
good
in
call.
the absolute dirt, and it's just reacted really well off that last earnings print, and just kind of back to where we were. So I mean, I guess one lesson there, if you had any play through that drop and you just kept it, you just said like, I think they're gonna make it. I mean, I think it's fine. I mean, you're just not even you're basically a little 5 weeks later, you're all right. So if you're gonna be long term investing in something, um, you kind of have to keep that in mind. And I'm not talking about if you buy the top on some data center at 180 and it falls to 90, you're probably in some trouble because the recovery is going to be about half that move probably. But yeah, I mean something like this when we got a level above and you're trying to get back into a channel we used to be in. Um, you can hang around, but the better trade obviously was to go at it fresh, and I tried to help people out on that one as best I could. But yeah, I mean I'm with you. I on the broader market, that QQQ 620 has just been kind of the thing for me. Mentioned it mentioned it last week that it's just we don't have that escape velocity right now, so the market hasn't really made a decision there. And if you do want to hedge anything or trade the downside, just getting some SQQQ when it flashes above 620 up to 626 and above, has been working really well. And then you just sort of you know sell out of most of those, do it again, keep doing it over and over again. And then when it does make, if it does make some big move down and you don't feel like you had enough, oh, I used to have all these puts. Well, that's not what they were for, right? It's not, if the oxen are moving this direction, I'm not looking to diamond hand any any puts. It's just sort of, you know, keeps you moving in the right directions on the red days, keeps you from having to sell things that you think are just going to bounce right back. So that's kind of been my strategy there. If you're in options at all, I think that's kind of what you have to do. The hardest part about trading the downside is the bulk of the move happens overnight. So in a 3-2 market, what are you going to do? I mean, the 2 of the 3 days give you a shot for that to work. I don't really like those odds that much. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I don't like downside at all. So
Right, yes, there you go. Yeah,
in
yeah.
3-to-1 ratio in general, I mean, I live by that. It's just it's almost like an ingrained look. A guy that redoes cars or something, he knows how to go out and look and see if the body's straight. Make sure the motor mounts are okay. Whatever's important, and you
Yeah.
just kind of can see it. It just becomes ingrained. And 3-to-1 has always been it for me, P. And that's like a minimum. It's like if it's 2.5, 2.75, it's not. I want a 5. I really want a 5-to-1, 6-to-1 ratio. Sounds way better.
Yeah.
And I kind of lived by that. One thing that kind of stood out to me, or I guess I just recognized was you're really good, or you tend to lean, either way you want to put it, at finding a ticker that the market is responding to, so to speak. I mean, you jump
Yeah.
around from QQQ, SQQ, SPY, the 10-year, um, some of the natural gas ETF, the gold ETFs, whatever stuff like that. Versus
Mhm.
on my side, I never really see it that way. It's always a TA first thing. Um,
Yeah.
whether I'm like catching the 50 on the weekly, we're pulling back to volume profiles, whatever the case may be. That just stuck out to me, and I wanted to say that in the session because I
Oh
think.
yeah,
Go ahead, go
it's
take it, take it.
yeah, it's sort of like it's like seeing the flow and then kind of seeing that next step. Like they're positioning here, and it seems likely that it's going to react there. The 10 year is a little different. I mean, 10 year is kind of a. I started focusing on that because it's the biggest priority of the administration that gets talked about the least because people don't understand bonds. I don't understand bonds, but I knew how to simplify it, and I'm like, okay, 10 year, it's the only one I really need to look at, and it really just defines the conditions for what else is going to happen around it, and in particular, SaaS stocks are very sensitive to that, and you get the kind of the kind of pop and fade, and people have been asking me about particular SaaS stocks that we've traded before that I do like, and it's like kind of like you have the right idea, but
You're a little late.
you're a little late. I mean, something like MDB, right? I mean, clearly there's been a couple spots for MDB, and I think it's very likely that it does, find a higher low somewhere. And I like this 380 pivot for trades, not for really for holding for a long time, um, but it would have to build up here for quite a while, I think, to for me to really, kind of love that level as an entry. Um, but yeah, I mean, yeah, you can trade it, and I guess my point with SAS is that it's I brought up one myself. I was like, we're kind of getting there, and it's gonna give us an entry. It's gonna work, but I don't think you have to be in a big hurry on these because a couple of those 3-2 down days, these are gonna drop 5-6%, and you want to stack up a couple weeks where it does that, and then you start to think about it.
Yeah, I overpaid for one on my fantasy list, but how I look at it is I overpaid it by 18 days because it's at the price I would have loved to have it at right now.
Yeah,
Um,
right. Yeah, no, yeah, and they and that. that basket. There's a reason that we have so many and kind of move around between them, and then some really stand out more than others, and one of them's just sort of a barometer for lots of things for me.
I think we're trading around it in any sector. We're kind of trading around it until the
Yeah,
thesis and everything lines up. You have to stay
right.
familiar with it. You have to stay around them, or you're not going to be ready. You're going to be the guys that are screaming about stuff online right now that it's just way past. Like I can't remember the one that's up there. Oh, like PL and ASTS. Are
Yeah,
we serious right now? It's a
I
good
know,
entry
right? Yeah,
today. Today's a
yeah,
good fucking entry.
right.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah,
I mean,
the
Jesus. Hey, vegan, buy more PL. Are you fucking
yeah,
kidding me?
right.
I mean, it's the stupidest thing ever. And
Yeah, and yeah, and it's not even like you know like Rocket Lab or something. Like we had the one entry that was the best, right? But we've returned to it several times.
sure,
But that was still what 400% ago or something crazy. So it's yeah, it's
Rocket
kind of
Rocket Lab is
remarkable.
410, 477. That
Yeah,
channel's in my head should tell you something.
right. Yeah, yeah. We were talking nickels and dimes back then, and but I liked the conversation we had where it's like kind of put us all on the spot. You got this space basket. We both agreed that Virgin Galactic was pretty trashy. That was like the meme stock, the original one, and Vorb and all that. But for the kind of like the refresh of the sector, it's like, all right, so here's the basket. What's your pick? And I was like, Space Mobile, ASTS. You're like Rocket Lab. Um, we both did okay. So and
Yeah,
I
we
had some
we
Rocket Lab
redid
too.
that. We redid that what November, late November, early December, and I
Yeah,
was I was RDW, and that was six
right.
bucks, and it's 10 now. Do the fucking math, and they're gonna talk about that in a month or two when they get news too. That's the key for Twitter. They don't understand TA. They don't even look at percentages. They don't understand to find a month to 6 month move. It's just irrelevant to them. It has to move either 20% on the day to hit their screeners, or it's got to get a lot of news, like really
Yeah,
good news, and that's the
and
only way they
uh,
fucking see shit.
and I and Q is the same way. I mean, I started buying that one early. I mean, relatively early. You had identified it was going to fall more. I knew you were right, but I
Seven,
still
7 or 8 bucks.
I
That's where
want.
we were at.
Yeah, I still wanted to just own, you know, quite a bit of it. So I was fine just getting in on the way down. But yeah, they didn't find the quantum stuff either till way late. And I mean they tried the same thing with like the the rare earth. I mean it's they got bagged on rare earth. It pulled back. We get back into it, and they're off they go. Um, and CR the one with critical in the name. Um, just great had a great time with that one. But on SAS, about the story on SAS, I'm gonna kind of lay this out and see what you think. So I like the cybersecurity. I mean, probably is my favorite little area of software as a service, just because it's so essential to people. But so's the boring HR stuff, the Salesforce and Workday and all of those big previous winners in the first iteration of the bull market and all of that. And they've been taking a beating of late, and didn't have the same kind of uh, recovery and staying power from the tariffs and whatever. But the why those went up, in the big recovery was that those software companies were very bloated, right? Too many people, way too many people work there. DocuSign was the big punchline about that. People are still try to make those jokes about these companies, but that isn't really how it is now. That they are a lot more lean, and they are the fundamentals of the companies are stronger and all of that. What is happening now to me is that it's that application of AI. What does AI do for us? The AI story, and the AI story getting some FUD and some weak spots. It's not quite doing what we wanted. We're gonna have to bring people back, and um, people, fix all this shit, and there'll be a marketing about, we've got human beings doing this task as like a positive that I think people will start promoting or whatever. But I just think there's still more waves of negativity around um, companies like this, and that if you're just if you're just patient on it, these are going to turn around, and and then we just got Flow TA, and then I think you kind of understand the story later. And I'll just close on that by saying that you won't probably want to be buying before you understand the next chapter that you're going to read, and you buy with some confidence around some levels and a flow setup and all of that, and then the story starts to kind of clarify itself later. There were plenty of times with I started moving in on these before they started big cuts and layoffs and things that the market responded to, and you're gonna see that again. I don't know exactly how the next story is going to play out, but figuring out how we relate to AI and staffing and all that, I think that will be it. Clarity in long term vision, I guess, is what I would say for some of these names.
I mean, the can's way down the road for it in
Yeah,
general, but I think we're at a point, or we're going to be at a point where it's understood and realized that AI is gonna wreck a lot of SaaS companies. And
yeah,
if you had a career, in the early 2000s, I mean, any kind of office had five, six, seven, 10 tech dudes in it. You had a copier guy
for,
sometimes. You just had
yeah,
all these
networking and all that. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. You had all your guy, and you had to call a guy to come fix your fucking computer and all that nonsense. And that's what software as a service took over for those companies. Is it made it so you didn't have to have an employee on hand, and someone else would just magically handle your shit. I don't think those companies are gonna have go back to that and just have an AI department. Um, so some of them are going to be replaced. I don't think it's the cybersecurity. I think those are the ones that are a little bit more entrenched or will be okay. But
yeah,
but like your simple stuff, some of your simple stuff, I think companies can find a way, or companies, new companies can be created that just are more AI driven, that will keep
yeah.
their staffing light, so to speak, and be able to offer the services to businesses. I don't think like I mean your big guys will, but let's say like I don't think like Hertz will have an AI department. You know what I mean? Like
Right, right.
Our Marriott might have an AI. I mean they might. They're pretty big, but stuff like that. When you get into those kind of companies, I think they're going to outsource a lot of that. They're just not even going to mess with it. Um, and then you're going to get comboed together, right? You're going to get package deals. Like I mean, I'm not big into the software as a service like you would, but like two things coming together, like maybe you get like your Excel and your security together somehow. I don't know. I think
Yeah,
that's that, but that's like a 10-year thing, P. But we're gonna go through the waves of that process along the way, and I'm big on always knowing the end road. The end road's really important to understand in the story. So, um, yeah, I would stay away from anything that's not, what do you want to call it, like needed short term, and that's why I think security stands out.
well, yeah, and that's and it's and like a similar reason the companies can't really, once they're in them, can't get rid of Workday and Salesforce and all that. The
Yeah,
amount of people you have to hire to replace your subscription or whatever, and very expensive subscription to these people that do all this stuff. And then like my college is just getting into Monday, I guess, is our new one. So they sometimes will change what they're doing, but but yeah, you're kind of stuck with them. But I mean, the real kind of shitty SaaS when those come up, I mean, those are just trades. Those are just relief
sure.
for back to a channel and whatever. And I don't know that they're not going to be part of some big story. They're just going to cycle around till someone buys them or they die, and then you just don't want to be you don't want to be in them when they when they finally go. But yeah, I remember when I when I started teaching, my first office was in a kind of an older building, and it was an office and it had a foyer. It was huge, but the reason it had that was there used to be a secretary in there. Every
Oh yeah.
professor had a
Yep.
secretary, That is not the case anymore, obviously. So even it happens everywhere, and it's and the panic about it. When cars come about, what about the people who make the buggy whips or whatever? You
Sure.
just gotta adapt and find a new thing. But yeah. So anyway, so people just be careful going into some of these too early. It's the most complicated sector, and it's not going to ever really be a full send sector in the way that weed or something is. So again, I like people bringing up the names, but
Right.
describe to me the ideal setup for a post about a ticker from someone.
Hold on. I wanna go workday real quick.
Yeah,
Um, 190 27 auto RTO. Hold up.
yeah, I know, right, and that's notice my line's above that, but that happens.
Right there. One ninety
Yeah,
thirty seven. How'd I know that? Uh-oh. That was more the point of that. Okay. Perfect setup.
right.
Perfect setup for ticker mentioning. Um,
Yeah,
search the fucking group. Step one.
right.
I
Yeah,
mean, I'm a bit. I'm gonna be real with y'all real quick. All you really have to do in our group is search the fucking group and say, hey, and kind of like rewrite our note to us.
yeah, no.
You know what I mean? And that the one that I know we're talking about a similar situation, but the one of them hadn't been mentioned forever, and the other one gets mentioned regularly, or in the last December or so. The one that didn't get mentioned was the better setup. He hasn't got back to me on that yet. Um,
Yeah.
but in general, yeah, I wouldn't go outside of anything that's not mentioned in the last few months. Um, the random stuff. If you're gonna bring something that we're not talking about, you better have a really good reason. Um,
Yeah.
we're like 50 tickers deep a week. I'm trying to cut that down a little bit. You, if you can't find trades in those, or you think you can find better trades in those, let's have a talk. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I think that I mean it's usually the case that if there's something that we haven't talked about in a long time, it's not because we forgot about it or you know I just don't care about that one anymore. It hasn't worked its way back into our my flow filters or your TA levels, and it or for me sometimes it's not even as much about the level, but what brought it there. Like what exactly are the conditions that brought this thing, and how's the flow respond to it? Flow responds differently to a stock bleeding out to a level than a kind of quicker, more aggressive flush below. And the reason for that is, I've said before that whales are not the existing open interest is more important than the new flow. That's the thing that people get backwards about options. And um, if they have to reposition dramatically, they tend to not like to do that. And that's usually where urgency comes from, more so than front loading for some big news. That happens too, but I don't know. I have to I quantified it like 80% of the time. It's more about the open interest that's currently out there. Um, the exception are the all-time high charts, which is just a whole different kind of thing. But in any case, the yeah, I mean, if we haven't talked about a name in 6 months, there's probably a reason, and I'll see some of them that I think about bringing up, and I just it's just better fish. Um, I could have been talking to you about Beyond Meat every week since that move, but do we really need to spend our time on that one?
Please don't.
I
Um,
guess.
I got some notes, so I'm gonna try to nail them out here. But I was gonna come in this session and basically, I didn't know how to word it, but I wanted to make a comment about like the difference between flow and the TA that we have here. And it's not that I don't want to say better, but I don't know. It's not that I'm better or the flow's better than the TA, or vice versa. But you have to like my I'm gonna start with what it does for me. So for me, it's TA first. Like I like plays when there's no flow in my play and I'm on a level and it's just quiet and boring, and then I get a 10%, maybe 20%, little grind up through a week or two, and then you're like,
Yeah.
"Hey, I got 12s." Or, "Hey, I got 15s." That's the best for me.
Yeah.
It's harder for me to trade when we're at, let's say, $8, $8, you got 7.5 puts and 10 flow read. That's hard. That's hard. I would
Right.
rather be able to grab my level and trade. So the flow in general for my best case use is a little bit delayed. It is TA first for me. And how that relates to what we're talking about is you have to understand like what you're. I mean, some people come in like, "Oh, just 36 calls." Like, well, what made you arrive there, and what's good on the chart? And having those steps, I think, is most important. Um, and you kind of, I don't know, I mean, you point it out constantly. I have to check with Unc on the TA first. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not like I just have these 36. I mean, it happens occasionally. Don't get me wrong. I have 30 calls. I'm just fucking buying them. That does happen occasionally on your side, but that's not 80% of what you do. Um, you're going to use TA whether it's a level you have or level I have, and I think that's just missed with one check or one shiny nugget brings those things up. Like I really tried to find a reason those were brought up. I couldn't. I just
Yeah.
couldn't find a reason at all for them. And I think that checklist we talk about, understanding what check should come first in successful trades for you, um, is best. Some people, maybe it's just it hits the news in the morning and I buy.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it. Maybe that's it for you. But just random. Um, how about today? I don't really like.
I
One more point there, P.
Yeah. Yeah.
Market closes at 1 o'clock on Friday. I hit the screens every Friday. I mean, pretty much right away. I would like to hit them earlier, but I'm a little anal about the candle closing. You can go
Mm.
look when my notes drop. It's 3.5, 4 hours later almost every time. I just went through 500 charts. I come out with 10 of them. 10. If you're not doing that kind of work, don't think you're going to find diamonds.
Uh, right. And I get it all the time with sometimes you as a professor you get a student who they're ambitious and they really want to they want to work on something new, and in a lot of my classes I have these sort of kind of prepackaged general topics for whatever we're covering, like say Paradise Lost or something, and like this is your research area. These are the people who've talked about it. Dive into that, find something, work with that, and create a project out of it. And a lot of the work's been done for them just in that initial bibliography. Now they do their own thing with it, and everyone has their own version of it, and there's still plenty of room for originality within that. But then I'll get to students who just like, oh, I want to completely start fresh and just do this completely on my own. And it's and I'll let them do what they want to do. That they can do that, but you have to understand you got the same deadline as everybody else. You have no work that's been done previously. Maybe there's some things out there, but the sources are 10 years old, so you don't have new things to talk about with this. Because I've gone and curated all these lists for them of things that people are currently working on, and it's much harder to do that, and there's no reason to do that. I mean, especially like you're a sophomore or junior in college. You can do that in grad school. You can do that afterwards. Like you'll know what you're looking for, and you'll know how to find things and speed this process along. You're just going to go out alone on your own, and you're just kind of lost. And so with trading, and like if you're in our room, um, you use the work. And I don't think the best way to use the work is something like finding a ticker, and now I'm going to apply our method to it. Um, Find something that's got some work out there, and recency is so important. I talk about it in rhetoric all the time, Kairos, that at the opportune moment. And the ticker that we haven't talked about in 8 months, that's not near level. It's it's just not where you want to be. And in a flow check on it, I can do that. I can tell you, well, here's what's out there. But it's sort of a shot in the dark, and you don't need a shot in the dark when you got all these lanterns around you. You can just pick one up and find your way. So I'm with you on that.
I'd be more inclined to do a random check on something that you're up on that I'm helping you manage than helping
Yeah. Oh
I'm
yeah.
trying to
Yeah.
help you get in.
Right.
But double down on the we have a big gravel pile of stuff. Find one out of that. I mean,
Right.
there's 35 stocks and collabs on Friday. Um, so those two
Well, yeah. And
definitely
immediately
definitely
after
stand
after
out to me.
purchase the group, tell me if you own it or not.
Yeah.
That's a big part of the story. If you own it and you're up on it, then that's a really useful conversation.
Yep.
If you're severely bagged on it and you just don't want to tell me that, I mean, it's my flow might get you halfway out of the bag.
Yeah. You got
Is
it.
often gonna have. I'm probably not gonna give you what you want to hear as far as getting out of that thing. So,
The
uh,
elephant in the room here, Pete, and I hate saying stuff like this because it puts a little pressure on us, but um, if you go out there and find your own stuff, create your own story and all that, from the scratch guy, right? I want to do it on my own.
yeah,
You're gonna be so emotionally invested in that. Trust me. I remember when I started trading and was successful. You don't want to be the CLSK guy. If you're just following two random dudes that kind of know what they're doing, easier to take money. Just close them trades green and move on to the next one and say, hey, this source is feeding me free money.
yeah.
Something to take into account with that. Keeping the mental as easy as possible. That's just as important as the tickers we find, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And don't follow the community member conspiracy theorist trajectory. There's plenty of those guys out there. So, yeah,
Let me
totally.
switch topics here. I got like three notes that are kind of connected. A little rant, and I'm sure you'll be able to hop in on it. Um, because it came up in the room. At least I think it did. But scaling out and DCA in too. But I mean, you could probably get away with not DCA in. But scaling out is a tool that you have to have as a good trader.
Yeah,
And I learned that I was gonna tell this story two or three different ways, but typical Unc, I'm just gonna be blunt and fucking honest. Um, but I learned that real fucking early. You know what I mean? Real early. I learned how to scale out and get to a spot where I wanted to have free shares. Because I wanted the investments that I made to not cost me any money. That's the whole
yeah,
origin of that. And where did I learn that? Well, back in the day, I would buy this product, came in 28 units, and I would sell those units, maybe a unit and a half for $20 a piece. I got the package for around 220. I sold most of those units. um, let's say made my money back in the maybe $50 and had some to keep for free. And I did that over and over and over again with my investment. Over and over again. Now when, I sold half of that 28, when I sold 14 of them, I didn't make as much money because I wasn't scaling out properly. If I
yeah.
tried to hold it too long, it would slowly dwindle away for some reason, especially if you're hanging out with certain friends. and if
Right.
you
Yeah.
don't know what I'm talking about right
Yeah.
now, it's a good time to buy the weed names and hold on to them for a little bit.
Right. Right. Yeah.
But I just learned that early on, and it's ingrained in my head. And I'm sorry that's where it came from. But
Yeah.
understanding that I have this, and I can shoot these off for let's just call it, keep the math easy. And I can shoot these off 28 of them. I get it for 220. I can sell them for $10 a piece. I can either keep 6 of them or make $60. And
Yeah.
it's all about getting back to that free for me. It's now, do I sell half of it for 140? And now I'm paying a little bit for that, but I still have more than I would. I got a lower dollar cost average. I'm serious, P. That's where I learned that shit from, and it just has always made sense and made me money.
Yeah. No, I right, and I as far like free shares, part of the motivation there usually for me is that there's a big story, and I don't want to have to check this stock every day like that. That's all it is. It's why It's how I did the quantum stuff and silver and several others. I mean, you know, I had that gold and silver thesis. Um, I didn't want to day trade any of that stuff. If that's my big idea of where it's going to go, those stocks they're going to be a hell of a lot higher than they are now, and they're not. It's not stopping at 25, and the leaps at 50 or whatever. That's kind of what I'm after. Don't really want to own the options on it. So so yeah, I just you buy enough initially that you can get free and clear, and then you just ride it out. So yeah, that's definitely a good place to be. I don't like the concept of the option runner that much,
Yeah.
and because they're usually not running, they're running it into the ground, and even on something that a trade that you did very well on. Oh, this thing's free. Well, still, why do you want to just light $100 bill on fire when the setup starts to fade? I mean, just clear it out, and just start fresh. But that sort of red flag scammer talk, the option runner, right? I've never really cared for that. But shares where you don't have to worry about the time, that's definitely where you want to be. But you just have to remember that the reason those guys don't buy shares is
It's account
because
size.
yeah, they don't move enough.
Yeah, and the account
15
size. You're
percent is not enough. It's not enough when that 15% is $15. I mean, that's not what they're looking for.
you're getting a lot of guys that were crypto are coming back to stocks, but the first thing you notice is those contracts aren't over a dollar. I mean, they're all
Yeah,
30, 60 cents. You just notice it right away.
right, right.
Waste of fucking time.
Yeah,
But the two trades, I just we just really need to get that across. The two trades of scaling out. Um, having that plan of the bus stop, so to speak, and reevaluating the play is the best. I mean, not to bring up, I hate the Matt Foley name. That's fucking vegan to me. Sorry. Um, he, this is a PL. I mean, he's still talking about it's a year trade for him, maybe a year and a half trade for him, and he's still talking about this was my plan, and
yeah,
and
yeah,
that's most important for me, and that's probably the better way to say it. Scaling out has to be a part of the plan. You have to have a plan just for the mental capital to kind of get out of it, and take notes on that. Like oh, I was a little oversized, and I just had to look at it every goddamn day. I don't know if you caught the story in my page this week about my buddy and Budweiser, but it's the same thing. I mean, if you put 5 grand into a trade and it's bothering you, what in the hell are you gonna do when it does go 100% and it's 10 grand? Because 5 grand
yeah.
bothered you, so 10 grand's gonna
Right.
bother you. I'm speaking from experience. It will bother you, and maybe those numbers are lower or higher, but you have to have that plan and just fucking stick to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
You want some boring stuff?
yeah, let's go. Let's go.
All right. Um, so little pullback Friday. Friday was the big option expiration day and all that. So not really a big deal, but yeah. So you got copper rejecting at 6 a bit. So you look for that to set back up in the 575 area, get a sustained pullback. I suppose 550 or something like that. There's still a big move to be had here. The attempt to kind of meme copper. People talk about buying physical copper. I mean, a lot of those guys are just bullshitting. It's just a joke or whatever. The you look at the price of copper, right? And you're how heavy that would all be to store and cumbersome, and no one's buying physical copper. So you don't treat copper like silver and gold. You're most focused on the practical application and aspect of it, and supply shock potential, and all of that. I've always said 5 to 7. I still say 5 to 7. So we're sort of in that, and entries are tricky on the big names, but there are some smaller ones if whales are looking um, to get a piece. There are some $6, $8 stocks that are going to be $10, $12 stocks. So I might be posting about those coming up.
Man, if I was still doing that old school trading I was talking about, I could probably get you some copper if you needed it. Um,
Yeah, there you go.
um, to kind of bump back on what I was just saying, I had a plan with copper. It was something I bought below 100. I think I got maybe to 125. I definitely didn't make it past 130 on that one. We talked about it. It's 180 today. I'm not fucking mad. I had a plan.
Yeah.
My plan worked out. I'm on to the next one.
Right.
Simple, simple.
Yeah. And then silver, the oops. Where'd I go here? All right. So silver had itself, a little pullback there. The 4% a 4% down day in silver looks shocking, but you have to really look at where we are and where we came from, and so the percentages are going to be
Big.
pretty big when you get up here, and so you have to kind of be prepared and get used to that. And if you want to keep going back into silver, then you want to need days like that. And you look at some of these wicks just on like a 4 hour, it's like you kind of see what's happening here and see what gets defended and see levels and all that. I don't like day trading metals personally, but it's there's some things out there. You have to be mindful of within paper silver. It's not even so much futures, but everybody tries to jump on this one because of the options, and clearing out leverage is something that does happen quite a bit when you get up here. So I if someone's starting completely fresh with silver and they've been in our room a long time, I don't know what exactly you were doing. It's not the time to do that though. It's still it's going to 100, so that means there are going to be trades there. I just think you want to have some experience in existing positions for the rest of that move.
I didn't know dick about materials, metals, all that crap. Probably can't spell half of them still. But I just called fucking a 100% move on silver in 2 months.
Yeah.
That hang out with the right people, open your mind, be a sponge, and it'll help you be a better trader. Thank you, P.
And then we get into gold. Uh, Similar kind of deal. I don't know. Well, let me get off the 4 hour. But is this some kind of TA? I don't know. I don't know what you call this. I don't know what it is, but
I mean,
uptrend.
take your big wick candle there, that big red one that kind of
Yeah.
reestablished a range. I mean, you could draw a box off of that candle, like an RTL box off of that
Mhm.
candle, and you're consolidating on the high. You can see that right here, right? Like, so
Oh
you're kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
flipping that zone. But that's important, and silver was a little better. I wanted to say it there, but I had a better comment. The tolerances are very important to understand, and I talked about that a few months ago. I'm probably going to hammer it this year. But when you get wicks like that, you need to understand the range because it's probably going to live in that while it figures it out. These charts are
Right.
overextended. They're in price discovery or a price range that's never been at before. It's expected. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. All right,
Five
then.
K. Are you still 5K there? Sorry.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that we just continue. It's kind of. I mean, this got ahead of silver and whatnot. So I'm kind of waiting for the third metal to come in. I don't know what it is because again, I'm not that guy. But Professor will probably come out with. Oh wait, I do know what it is. I've been in it for a while. Never mind.
Oh right. Yeah. No. I. Yeah. The people figuring out to look at the periodic table now was another funny thing that's been happening to me.
18 months
Uh,
ago.
yeah. Right. Right. The uh, lithium. So I'm really pleased to see it kind of make a move like this, and uh, it's just might set up and get boring for a while, but long way to go with lithium, and the whole big market story is um, and will be this concept of physical AI. That's some new term. It's just robots. I don't know that like they decided robot isn't as marketable a term, but just interacting with things physically that have AI built into them. You know, that's the big thing, and you need batteries for that. Drones. If we're wanting to patrol our domestic skies with drones and Palantir face recognition and all the dystopian sci-fi shit that you see in movies, which we're probably going to do, then yeah, you need batteries for those drones. So that lithium, the batteries that go with them, that trade's not going away. I talked about that. That was one of my big trades for the year. Would be that. So yeah, you want to see lithium set up around here. It's hard for me to say. It was easier for me to pin down like what's kind of fair value for natural gas and copper. Lithium's trickier. It's really nasty to mine this stuff, and there isn't as much of a
Yeah.
domestic capacity to do it. So that kind of alters the equations a bit. But I do think like the like $24 or so is kind of what I'm after. 24 to 32 by the time we really get into this sector move.
I mean, definitely had the thesis, but that's a good. This one's a good example of not having the flow on a certain ticker, but having a really good TA spot and just waiting
Yeah.
for it to happen. Um, I mean, I might be a little biased because I'm up over 100% on the position, and it's 100% free. So,
Yeah. Right. Right.
I mean, that's the perfect place for me to be. It's investor mode for me now. I have some pullback spots that I'll take more. I'll just take the profit out of it. But move's half done. I'm with you on
Yeah.
that.
Yep. All right. So then, oil. Not much to say. I mean, you want to, but this is the one where you kind of least need. You don't need some big move to drive things. You just need the stability. We've talked about that over and over again. Um, there's some big Texas oil, like that's kind of where I want to be. I have reasons for that, so we'll get into that in other sessions. But yeah, oil around here is good, and you probably get in the 60 to 80, and live there. You can live there for years, and that's kind of where we'll be, potentially. So
I'm not calling the shot, but I'm a little against the grain. I'm hoping oil stays down here 58.65 for a while, just because it makes everything else a little bit cheaper.
mhm.
Um, guess how much gas is out here, P?
550,
Not 350.
350.
Yeah,
Oh,
we're coming
okay.
down. We're coming down. So
All right.
moving in the right direction. Diesel's still 5, but the premium gas is 350 right now. So yeah, I like that stability. I like people not to be. If gas prices is in the news, it's not good for the economy. That's just kind of how that works. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
I spend $12 every 2 weeks on filling my natural gas car. So
Mine
I
comes
like
on
that.
my electric bill.
Yeah.
I
Right.
don't, I don't even know. I know when I supercharge though. If I supercharge, I'm usually there, 5 or 10 minutes, and it's $4 or $5. And
Oh yeah.
very rarely do I have to do that.
Yeah. All right. Natural gas opportunity. I mean, that's just rejected at 5. Another of those 5 to 7 deal. Russia Ukraine,
Yes.
still a lot to work out there. That's so far out of our news cycle with uh, Greenland and whatever the hell's going on there. But there's still a lot of artificial things holding prices down in relation to that.
Yeah, I think prices stay down. The Ukraine thing, you hit the head on the hammer. It's going to be real hard to predict that, but again, you always kind of want to lay out a plan. I heard Russia bombing Germany over the weekend, like that was a possibility. I was like, hold the fuck
Yeah,
on.
yeah,
Um, but I think this time around, if there is any blowback from the Ukraine Russia conflict to the European Union or the European countries, we're not going to be there this time to save their ass. So I don't think it's going to affect us as much. We're decoupling from them, so to speak. Um, so I'm waiting for that to play out, but I don't. I mean, that's not this quarter, next quarter. That's a if things get really bad in this situation. It seems like they're going to peace. With you, it's hard to find news on it right now.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And Bitcoin, I did pretty well here, and didn't really do much. Just kind of parked around some levels, traded coin a few times, but I was, sort of promising that Bitcoin is hanging out here, and
Yeah,
certainly could work its way back up over 100K. It's still need like a better reason. I still think we get a couple decent flushes, but yeah, longer it stays here, the better. If you're wanting to own it.
105 probably a problem just in general that way.
Yeah.
I sit in these sessions constantly and talk just mad shit about these guys, this company or product or whatever. I don't know whatever. Bitcoin in general, just the whole
Yeah.
sector. Um, BTDR, BTIF make my notes. They got to
Yeah.
be really fucking good if they do.
Right. Right.
So yeah, that's where I was at. Thank you. On to the next one. Also
Yeah.
a good example of the TA kind of kicking in first and just waiting for the flow. The flow is not there's no Bitcoin flow we follow. It's just the movement on the chart. So yeah, good teamwork there, P.
The one thing to consider too with the data center angle and why some of these companies um, are so important is that as communities do the not in my backyard thing about data centers, um, facilities that can be easily converted to that are important. So for some of these companies, the Bitcoin miners, it's not even about their equipment. They'll probably toss half that shit out, but it's repurposing land and facilities and that are going to be important. So I think you will see some Bitcoin miner acquisitions and the data center trade. It's something I've been on for a while. I have one in particular I've done well on, but yeah, that story is gonna continue to play out, and the ones who captured that angle first are the ones that are gonna continue to be winners. And I think that catching the second trade in a data center combo stock is going to be easier than a fresh in the dirt Bitcoin miner that you think might go in that direction because you're just throwing darts at that point.
Yeah, Iron and Hut kind of leading the way for me there. See him.
Yep. Yep.
Perfect.
And a 10-year, just real quick, surged a bit.
Friday, yeah.
Yeah, that might continue with Europe pulling out of some trade deal.
Yep.
In response to Trump, whatever. Don't chase puts Tuesday, but I mean that's an extra day for the market to sort of stew about all that. So could see a pretty wild pre-market Tuesday, but we'll see what happens.
That was a good rotation, right? You're done on these, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, good rotation into the next week or the weekly focus topic that we just started to do. But short week. I think you nailed it on the head right there. Even if you don't know you found it, we're pulling back. I think we're pulling back. It's going to look a little gloomy Tuesday morning, but then we just make that up all week. It's gonna. I
yeah.
really think that's what we're walking into this week with the geopolitical news that's out there. A little bit unrest in our country in general, and I think the market just takes a cigarette break for a week. Oxen are still going
Yeah.
in a certain way though, so I don't think we stop that. And I think
Yeah,
there's things that just move to um, their
yeah.
own beat.
Just don't step in what they're putting down when you're walking behind them. That's sort of
Yeah,
the message
that's a
there.
good one right there.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, if you're like a 401k guy and you just check it every Friday, this week's probably not going to look like much happened. But that's often how it is.
Yeah,
The minute chart guys, panic. The swing traders, you know, look at the opportunities, and the long term investors like just are unbothered. So
Yeah, for
that's
me for me I love red days because you see what isn't responding to the overall opinion of the market. You see what's just doing their own thing, and then you go back and you check your notes and your flow, and you're like, all right, they're just gonna walk this thing to May or March. They don't
yeah,
care. It's just not gonna stop. And um, some stocks have a really big appetite for ownership right now, and some are split, and it's just finding the ones that people want to buy. And we talked about software as a service earlier. If you look at their forward PEs on a lot of that stuff, that's why it's pulling back. It's got a little overvalued for what they're actually doing right now. People are buying into what they could do in the future a little bit more than what's actually on the books right now. You get into like the oil names, or those were big last week, or a lot of the restaurants, even maybe some of the casinos, stuff like that. It's the multiples are horrible. So figuring
yeah.
out where the money's going to go is always what we do, and you see that on the red days because money doesn't stop going into those places.
Yep. And I'll close with one more question. The combo of months, the boxing glove thing.
Yeah.
What's the most important one expirations to you right now?
I can't tell you if I do like March.
Yeah.
May is a close second, and then I really need that end of the summer. October isn't as sexy as to me as if you have the August, June, July with
Yeah.
it, but like a March and August, or a March September, I think that's your best setup right now. Anything that brackets tax is pretty good, P, or that looks like it's looking around the tax period. Like we don't care, we're just going to buy a little time no matter what happens with taxes. That's the best for me right now. I think it's just trickling in on your end. That's all. I just think it's slow over there because they were
Yeah.
so well positioned. They don't have to reposition, what you touched on already.
Well, a lot of them they just for simplicity did January. They went January to January, but that's not anything. That's just like that's a little holding zone, and they take out of that basket, and then they really create the new setups, which are going to expire sooner than that and give you more definitive strikes and things. So the easiest no brainer roll that they didn't have to think about was to just take this deep in the money January stuff
Yeah.
and roll it out to some higher expiration next January. And then it's really not until we'll be well into the spring before January itself is a relevant
Yes.
strike for what we do.
I
But
think I'm seeing a lot, or I'm trying to find a lot. I see a lot of free money flow, and it's really big free money flow. And what I mean by that is someone bought a stock at 50, it's at 100 now, and I mean it's more complicated than this on their end, but they're making a part of their trade is to sell that covered call, pretty far out of the money that looks like a target, because they're fine with either keeping their shares here, taking the premium, or giving you the shares at that price. Um,
yeah,
so I think we're seeing a lot of that kind of management inflows, not false targets, um, but just stuff that they're looking to maximize their profit on.
yeah, absolutely.
So puts are more important. I think we both agree on that.
Yes, yeah, you'll see a lot more puts in my notes coming up. So.
Perfect. You ready
All
to get
right.
to work?
Yeah. Quick break for me. Grab a coffee and then we'll get going.
Perfect. Like and subscribe. Link somewhere, people.